They said that when the midnight wind touched your window in Asokwa, it was not just air, it was a whisper, a warning, or sometimes an invitation from something unseen. Kwame never believed those stories. He was a young fisherman with strong arms, a sharp mind, and dreams bigger than his father's canoe. Until the night the whisper called his name. It came softly, curling through the thatched roof of his hut, carrying a woman's voice that spoke only one word: come. His heart froze, but his legs moved on their own. He followed the sound through the mist, past the silent huts and sleeping goats, until he reached the edge of Lake Bosomtwe, calm as a mirror beneath the moon. There he saw her, a woman dressed in white cloth, her reflection rippling on the water, though she stood still. She smiled, and his breath caught in his chest. Do you seek fortune or freedom? Kwame couldn't speak. He simply nodded. Then she extended her hand, holding a small charm carved from black stone. Take it, she whispered. But remember, when the drum beats at midnight, never look behind you. The lake sighed. The wind vanished, and Kwame was alone. The next morning, Asokwa was buzzing with gossip. An old hunter claimed he saw Kwame walking alone at night, followed by a white mist that never touched the ground. The elders gathered beneath the baobab tree, faces heavy with worry. The spirit of the lake walks again, said Nana Kofi, gripping his staff tightly. Kwame sat silently, clutching the charm in his palm. It felt warm, alive even. When he hid it beneath his mat, he could still hear faint whispers like ripples in his skull. His best friend, Yao, noticed. Kwame, you've not been yourself. That charm, throw it into the river before it owns you. But Kwame only smiled. It's nothing, my brother. That evening, while washing his nets, he noticed fish gathering in circles around his boat, more than he'd caught in weeks. The charm glowed faintly under his shirt. By the time he returned to shore, villagers surrounded him, cheering. His nets overflowed with silver tilapia, but Kwame felt no joy. The woman's whisper echoed, do not look behind. At midnight, when the drums echoed from a distant hill, Kwame's body trembled. Something moved behind him in the dark, but he closed his eyes and didn't turn. 3 nights later, strange things began to happen. Chickens laid black eggs, wells turned cloudy, and at the edge of the forest, trees wept sticky red sap like blood. The elders blamed witchcraft. The younger ones whispered about the fisherman with the cursed charm. Kwame's mother wept in silence, burning incense and salt outside his doorway every night. He tried to throw the charm away. He walked deep into the forest and buried it under a palm tree. But the next morning, it was back under his pillow. Yao grew afraid. Kwame, this is no blessing. You have brought death upon us. But Kwame only shook his head, eyes haunted. I didn't ask for this, Yao. It chose me. That night, when thunder cracked the sky, Kwame dreamt of the woman again. She stood in the lake, her eyes filled with sorrow. You broke the promise, she whispered. He woke with sweat on his brow, heart pounding like drums. The air smelled of rain and smoke. Outside, lightning flashed, and he saw her silhouette standing near his hut. Who are you? He shouted. But she only whispered, at midnight, the truth will come. Then she vanished, leaving footprints glowing faintly in the sand. Kwame sought answers. He went to the oldest man in Asokwa, Nana Obiri, the village priest who spoke with spirits and carried more secrets than time itself. When Kwame told him about the charm, the old man's eyes widened. He leaned forward, whispering, that charm belonged to Adoma, the lake maiden who died betrayed by love. Kwame's blood chilled. Adoma, the name felt heavy in his mouth, as if it didn't want to be spoken. Nana Obiri nodded slowly. She waits for a heart pure enough to free her. But I never asked for her, he protested. I only followed the voice. The old man smiled sadly. The lake doesn't choose who listens. It chooses who needs redemption. He handed Kwame a small calabash filled with white clay. At midnight, when the drum beats, paint your face and wait by the lake. If she comes, do not run. Kwame trembled. And if I fail? The old man's eyes darkened. Then your spirit will join hers, bound by the curse forever. As the sun set, Kwame stood at the water's edge, holding the charm tightly, the clay cool in his palm. The drums began to sound. When the first drum beat rolled across the village, the lake shimmered like glass under a full moon. Kwame painted his face with trembling hands, heart racing like wild drums. The charm pulsed softly against his skin. The air turned thick, heavy with the scent of wet earth and something sweet like hibiscus. The wind carried faint whispers again. He saw her rise from the water. Adoma, her beauty both terrifying and divine. Her eyes glowed like moonlight through tears. "Why did you summon me?" she asked, voice echoing softly. Kwame fell to his knees. "I didn't mean to. I only followed your call." She smiled faintly. "Then your heart is brave, but courage has a price." The lake rippled violently. Images flashed before him. Adoma's laughter, a forbidden lover, betrayal and drowning. The curse replayed in painful bursts of memory, not his own. "You must carry my pain," she whispered. "Only when a mortal bears it willingly can I be free." The charm burnt against his chest and he screamed in agony. When he opened his eyes, the lake was calm again, but his reflection was gone. Only hers remained, smiling softly back at him. The next morning, villagers gathered by the lake, whispering in fear. Kwame's footprints led into the water, but none came back. Only his canoe floated, tied with a red cloth. Yao refused to believe his friend was gone. He searched the lake for days, calling Kwame's name, but at night, he swore he heard someone humming softly across the shore. The elders performed cleansing rituals, drums thundered, palm wine was poured into the water. Yet, the lake only rippled, calm and silent, as if it held a secret it would never share. Then one night, Yao awoke to find Kwame standing outside his hut, dripping wet, eyes distant, face pale as moonlight. "Yao," he whispered, "I saw her world." Yao froze. "Kwame, you are alive." Kwame nodded faintly. "Not alive, changed. She showed me the truth. The curse wasn't hers, it was ours." His voice broke. "We cursed her." He opened his hand. The charm had cracked in half. Inside, something shimmered, a tiny shell glowing with blue light. "She said the end is near unless I finish what she began." Yao stepped back. "Finish what?" But Kwame's body began to fade, and his voice dissolved into the wind. Days turned to weeks, but the lake refused to rest. Fish died on its surface. Women fetching water saw faces in the depths. Children heard whispers while playing near the shore. Yao couldn't sleep. Kwame's words haunted him. He decided to find Nana Obiri again. The old man listened quietly, nodding as if he had expected this all along. "The curse began long ago," Nana Obiri said. "Adoma loved a man who betrayed her for gold. In rage, she cursed the lake, binding her spirit to its depths." Yao frowned. "Then how can it end?" The old man sighed. "Only one pure act of love can undo it. When someone risks everything to set her free without seeking reward." Yao's heart sank. Kwame tried. The elder nodded. He did, but his fear held him back. The lake felt it. That's why his reflection vanished. It took what he couldn't surrender. As the sun set, Nana Obiri handed Yao the broken charm. "It called him once, now it calls you." Yao felt a cold wind brush his neck. Somewhere, faint drums began again. Yao couldn't resist the call. That night, the moon hung low and swollen, painting silver streaks across the quiet village. He walked toward Lake Bosomtwe, charm glowing faintly in his palm. Each step felt heavier than the last. The whispers grew louder, voices of ancestors, calling, warning, guiding. The forest seemed alive, watching, waiting for him to reach the water's edge. When he arrived, mist curled over the surface like breath. He knelt, clutching the charm. "Adoma," he called softly, "I come not for gold, not for glory, but to set you free." For a moment, silence. Then the lake glowed faintly blue. A woman rose slowly, her face both beautiful and sorrowful, eyes shimmering with the weight of centuries. "You are not the one I called," she said softly. Yor bowed his head. "No, but I am the one your chosen loved. I carry his courage, his regret, and his truth." Adoma studied him, her gaze deep as eternity. "Then prove it. Stay until the drum beats thrice, and do not move, no matter what you see." Yor nodded, trembling. Then the first drumbeat echoed through the night. The first drumbeat rolled across the lake, deep and thunderous. The water stirred, and faces appeared beneath the surface, men, women, and children, their eyes wide with pleading sorrow. Yor's breath quickened, but he stood firm. The second drumbeat came, louder, shaking the trees. Shadows emerged from the mist, whispering his name, voices sounding like Kwame's and others long dead. His knees weakened. The charm in his hand pulsed violently, and the air turned cold enough to bite. He wanted to run, but Adoma's eyes held him steady. When the third drumbeat sounded, everything stopped. The lake fell silent. Even the crickets froze. A light began to rise from the depths, swelling into Adoma's chest like a returning soul. She gasped, falling to her knees. "It's done," she whispered. "You have given what was never yours to give, faith." Her tears turned to pearls, floating gently onto the surface. The charm shattered completely, turning into dust that drifted across the water like smoke. Then, with a final whisper, Adoma smiled. "Tell them love breaks what greed binds." And before Yor could speak, the lake swallowed her light, leaving only ripples and peace. When dawn broke, the villagers awoke to a miracle. The lake sparkled like diamonds under the rising sun, and fish leapt joyfully from its surface for the first time in months. Women drew clear, sweet water, children laughed again for ages, and the air smelled clean and alive. The curse was broken, though none knew who had done it or how it happened. Only Nana Obiri stood quietly by the shore, his eyes moist. He saw footprints leading into the water and understood. The brave always return, not in body but in memory, he murmured softly. Days passed, and Yor's heart stayed empty. Some said he left to find peace. Others whispered that he joined the spirits. But at midnight, faint drums still echoed from the hills. Sometimes, fishermen swore they saw two figures, one dark, one glowing, walking hand in hand beneath the lake's surface, their reflections smiling together under the moon. The villagers built a shrine for them both, placing the broken charm's ashes in a calabash at its center. The inscription read, "Courage redeems, love restores." From that day, Asokwa never feared the midnight wind again. Years turned to decades, and the story of Adoma and Yor became a legend. Elders told it by moonlight, warning the young never to follow strange whispers without pure intent. Travelers who came to Lake Bosomtwe often felt warmth in the air, as if unseen hands welcomed them. Those who came with greed saw nothing but fog and silence. But those who came with love, seeking forgiveness or truth, heard faint drums and sometimes saw ripples forming the shape of two joined hands across the water's surface.
The people of Asokwa thrived. The soil grew rich again, crops flourished, and children born near the lake carried a faint mark on their palms, shaped like the charm once was. They called it Adoma's blessing. Priests said it meant their souls were touched by courage and compassion, the same virtues that freed the spirit of the lake. Every year, on the night of the first full moon, the villagers danced by the water, drums echoing through the hills. The song they sang celebrated love's redemption, not fear. And deep within the waves, two spirits watched, smiling forever. So now, if you stand by Lake Bosomtwe when the moon is high and the wind is still, you might feel a gentle touch, a whisper that asks, would you be brave enough? The story of the charm that broke the curse is not just about spirits. It's about the power of choice, love's endurance, and the strength it takes to confront one's own fear. Kwame sought freedom and found faith. Yor sought truth and found peace. Together, they reminded the world that redemption isn't given, it's earned through sacrifice and sincerity. The lake sleeps peacefully now, but its memory lingers. Sometimes the waves sing like voices, reminding those who listen that love can heal even the deepest wounds of time. And when the midnight drum beats again, somewhere across Asokwa, hearts still pause, remembering the courage that changed everything. So tell me, my friend, if the charm called your name, would you dare answer? Type yes in the comments if you would, and remember, love breaks what greed binds.